job creation is precious, right? We've lost so many jobs, and when you put these bio-based manufacturing projects in rural Canada, you're doing something very, very good for rural Canada, and that is job creation. And we didn't appreciate that, I think, years ago.
Hey folks, Flo here at ScalingUp 2024. I'm here with a familiar face, Jordan Solomon of Ecostrat. How are you doing, Jordan?
Good. Nice to be here again.
It's a pleasure. First off, maybe just a little refresher for folks who may not actually know what a BDO zone. Why is it important? What does it do and how?
Well, the idea behind BDO zones has always been simple. Well, as you know, we thought that if we were to pre-vet areas for characteristics that bio-based projects needed, surplus of biomass, good strong supply chains, and good infrastructure, that project developers would naturally gravitate to those places. And in 2024, we saw dozens and dozens of them indeed do that all across North America.
Okay, you've told me that over the last year or two, you've grown from something like 12 or 15 to over 60. How does that happen? That seems almost like an incredible, surrealistic growth level.
It's a lot. It's not enough. There needs to be more. But really, it's you build a house brick by brick, and then all of a sudden it becomes a house. And so what's happened is that communities, economic developers, governments have recognized that simplicity is a big deal. And when you make siting bio-based projects simple by giving them a Rolodex of rated areas, BDO zones, AA, A, AAA, etc., it becomes easier for those projects to make siting decisions and make them quicker and with less risk, by the way.
What are some of the applications of BDO zones specifically in Canada, in the US, in North America?
Really to help drive use of excess sustainably grown biomass, of which we have millions of tons all over the country. I mean, you look at the prairies, there's literally millions of sustainably grown wheat straw that a lot of it gets plowed back in the fields, and some of it certainly does need to get plowed back into the fields, but lots of it doesn't, and it can be used to make high value biomaterials. Like red leaf pulp is financing a plant today in Saskatchewan to make pulp out of, guess what, not wood fiber, but wheat straw. And that provides an on-farm income for farmers that they wouldn't otherwise get. So they can sell their wheat, and now they can sell their wheat straw to red leaf pulp to make pulp. It's two sources of income. So
the waste, basically, yeah.
The waste, basically.
There's also an application for wildfires, I understand. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so I mean, wildfire mitigation is a massive priority both for this government and for the American government, of course. And I mean, look, everything out west burns every year, and those burns are becoming, increasingly severe, and we need to do something to mitigate those. And it's very, very difficult to perform silviculture in a forest, that is, take out the excess wood fiber that would otherwise catch fire, without having a market for that fiber. It's just too expensive to do it. And so there's a new application for BDO zones. They're called WBDO zones, wildfire-based BDO zones, where you pre-vet wildfire areas at high risk for wildfire.
As we have in Canada?
As we have in Canada, so many of them for BDO zones. So now you have BDO zones in high priority wildfire areas. Those BDO zones bring in the new plants. The new plants utilize the wood fiber that would otherwise be burning in the forest to make high value products like ground transportation fuels, like biogas, like renewable chemicals. So, and you decrease wildfire risk.
Fascinating. So it's not just an economic opportunity, but kind of almost a public service, national, service that you're doing, basically, right? I want to talk about the situation in the US because I think a lot of people in Canada are concerned. And 2 nights ago, we heard Donald Trump announce a potential 25% tariff on imports from Canada as well as Europe and I think Mexico. I mean, you operate across both sides of the border, and I know you have dealings in Europe as well. So how do you see sort of that play out for the biomass, bioeconomy industry over the coming years?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a bit of a guessing game as to what the new administration's going to do. But if people are guessing, they're not guessing anything good for the bioeconomy. That's absolutely for sure.
Mainly because of those tariffs, or are there other reasons?
Well, because renewable energy is not going to be a high priority for the Trump administration. I mean, that's clear. So we believe that presents an enormous opportunity for Canada. Why? Because the Europeans have decades of experience in putting up and operating bio-based facilities now. And the fact of the matter is that biomass availability is highly restricted in Europe for a variety of different reasons. And so those project developers are looking to North America for project expansion. Why? Because there's a lot of biomass. They're not going to get the incentives in the United States. Where are they going to be looking? They're going to look to Canada.
And does Canada have the incentives to be attractive?
Canada doesn't have the incentives yet. I mean, we have some incentives, but we certainly don't have the degree of incentives that America had under the Biden administration. But look, those incentives are about to be vaporized, a lot of them.
So what are the, let's say, 3 incentives that Canada should put in place ASAP?
I can talk to one incentive for sure. We should make it easy for European project developers to understand where the easiest and best suited places are in this country to build their new plants. And in Canada, there are only 9 bioeconomy development opportunity zones, rated A or investment grade rated, say. In the US, there are 50. Canada needs to catch up. We need to have a Rolodex of great areas where projects can have a soft landing. Right? They can have a soft landing. They're low-risk areas that present high volumes of biomass, good, strong supply chains, and good infrastructure. And to have a Canadian inventory, a Rolodex of A and AA rated bioeconomy development opportunity zones makes it easy for those European projects that are looking to expand to find the right places in Canada. I think that's one great way that we help catalyze this opportunity, which is coming down the pipe for Canada.
And if anyone wants to learn about those opportunities, they can reach out to you and to Ecostrat. I do want to ask you a final question, which is, you've been coming to this conference and supporting and speaking for many years now, probably 5, 6, maybe more. I think actually since the beginning, right?
Since the beginning.
Exactly. So what is it, 8 years? How has the message evolved here over time? One of the things that I've heard a lot, and maybe I'm particularly receptive because I work in communications, is the need for the industry to communicate more is a recurring, message here. But what are some of the things that you see, change over time?
Well, I think really the understanding that the biomass is a job creation engine is something that was sort of theoretical 6, 8 years ago, but it's become much more accepted now. So biomass being bioenergy being a job creation engine in a way that solar and wind aren't. What do I mean? When you put a bio-based plant that's using wheat straw in Saskatchewan and taking it to a red leaf pulp plant, for example, to make into pulp, you create jobs. You create jobs for farmers in the off season, right? You create trucking jobs, trucking that biomass out of the fields into the factories. You create jobs in the storage and in the processing, and it's exactly the same for in the forest sector. And you're creating jobs in rural Canada, where job creation is precious, right? We've lost so many jobs, and when you put these bio-based manufacturing projects in rural Canada, you're doing something very, very good for rural Canada, and that is job creation. And we didn't appreciate that, I think, years ago. And now that we've seen these plants starting to pop all over North America and creating jobs, people understand that more.
Great message to end on. Thank you very much, Jordan. Pleasure to speak with you. Thank you.